I'm Jo Reed. You're listening to Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. Alan Minskoff is with me, and we're talking audiobooks. There's a shock. Okay, Alan, you started with a novel. Are we having a novel today as well?
We are. We are doing the Pulitzer Prize winning author Richard Powers' new novel, Playground. And we are going to listen to later Edoardo Ballerini, but this has a full cast. It is a very well read audiobook. And Richard Powers is kind of the conscience of our moment in terms of the climate. His Pulitzer winner, Overstory, which interestingly enough, they chose to do that with one narrator, where I think was inspired to do this with five. It makes a big, big difference, especially maybe it were just worked with this because it had so many points of view and at least four main characters and many others.
And Richard Powers is also a MacArthur Fellow as well as a National Book Award winner for Echo Maker. He is really one of America's great writers.
And he is a treasure because he really, what I was so impressed by is how much work he does, how much reading he does, how much research he does, and yet has a very dramatic story and pertinent to our time because it's a real climate novel. And I don't mean that diminishing. I mean that he really gets us to think about the climate, in this case, the oceans. He also loves to have techno geniuses in his novels, and there's another one in this one. Playground is a platform that makes the Keen is the name of the character, Todd Keen. It makes Todd Keen a billionaire's billionaire, and he is a man who wants to kind of inhabit the globe on every to bring his ideas to every part of the globe. And his college friend, who is narrated by Kevin R. Free, is living on this island, an archipelago in Polynesia, and that is sort of the setting of what goes on. And he's married to a famous biologist diver.
And the narrator, how is the narration structured?
Ballerini does the techno genius. Wong does a fair number of things, and Free, who we won't listen to, is the pal who went to college with Todd Keen.
And then there's also Pun Bandhu and Robin Siegerman
Yes,
and Christian A.
all of whom have important roles and do significant amounts. This is really very well divided up. Now, Ballerini, in some ways, is the most important because he does this techno guy whose life he's really telling the story. So he is a most important character, and he is the link to the husband and wife team that end up on the island in the archipelago. So we're going to hear him, but I just should say that it's this novels can be just wash over you, and some make you think, and this one really made me think about the importance of oceans to our lives. And there's just a lot of important stories that are told through this novel.
Yeah, he is such a good writer. I always find it interesting that he had been a computer scientist or been studying computer science and saw a painting and was so enthralled by it that he decided he had to write about the characters in the painting and left computer science.
Isn't that fascinating? We never know what makes a person want to become a writer, and his is a
Yeah.
fascinating. I had read that too. It's a great backstory.
Let's hear a little bit now, and we're going to be hearing from Edoardo Ballerini. Do you need to set this up at all?
It is when they're in college.
Okay. This is Playground. It's by Richard Powers. It's read by a multicast, and we're going to be hearing from Edoardo Ballerini.
The three of us were walking home from campus one night in December, almost 40 years ago. The year that Ina first set foot on a continent. We had seen a student production of The Tempest, and she'd sobbed through the whole last act. I couldn't for the life of me figure out why. Rafi and I escorted her back to her boarding house, a dozen blocks from the quad. Ina wasn't used to square blocks. They disoriented her. She kept getting turned around. Everything distracted her and stopped her in her tracks. A crow, a gray squirrel, the December moon. We tried to warm her, Rafi and I, one on each side, each almost twice her height. Her first ever winter. The cold was homicidal.
First, I agree about the cold. Let me just put that right out there. And second, When it comes to exposition, I just don't think Eduardo can be beat. He's wonderful at characterizations too, don't get me wrong, but I think exposition is hard and he always delivers.
He truly does. And I should add, I hope this doesn't spoil it, that his character is quite complicated and he has some physical complications, and Eduardo gets it.
Okay, that is The Playground by Richard Powers. It's read by Edoardo Ballerini, Robin Siegerman, Eunice Wong, Pun Bandhu, Chris Janae, and Kevin R. Free. What a book to recommend. Thank you so much, Alan, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
And I look forward to it.
If you like Behind the Mic, leave us a rating. And then don't forget to follow us on the platform of your choice. I'm Jo Reed. I'll talk to you tomorrow.